Hi everyone, it's been a couple of months, but I finally stopped putting it off. I'm now going to try to learn how to play Brendan's Guys deck. This is the deck that won the London Regionals this year, and it took a lot of people by surprise, and more importantly, it made Guys cool. Brendan played this deck when Guys was still hipster, before the Most Wanted list hit. Now that the Most Wanted list has come, and there are no cards in his deck list that are on the Most Wanted list, I think a lot of people have gravitated towards this deck, realized that it's pretty good, and I'm gonna try it myself finally. So if you don't really know much about this deck, basically I made a couple of changes from his deck, but the core is still the same. You have the disposable breakers and and some static breakers. Get through servers only when you need to. Spy camps pressure R&D. HQ pressures via legwork and comp siphon, and you can pretty easily get through remotes once you have a critical mass of icebreakers up. And yeah, the triple tech traders are very key to setting up your economy, and you even run 2 hostages just so that you can get the tech traders up. Tech traders provide insane economy. There's a lot of trash cans in this deck. So today I'm up against Polana. Polana is an incredibly good matchup for Geist because you run Polop, and yeah, Geist is really hard to stop once Geist gets going. And yeah, even your remote servers aren't all that safe. So let's see how the game goes. I want you to put on your thinking caps and tell me what I'll do later. But first, my opponent plays Select Gift showing Nisei Mark II, Restructure, Pop, Ashigaru, Viper. Here, I keep my opening hand because there's a lot of card draw. Triple Peddler means that I'll see my tech trader quickly enough. I'm gonna install all of them and try to find my tech trader, because once you see the first tech trader, you can start snowballing with trash cans. However, after playing 3 tech traders and 9 cards, 3 peddlers and 9 cards, there were no tech traders. This is insane. Bad luck. So, this is a situation to panic in. If I found myself a tech trader, I would install it with the peddler, and then maybe install a fall guy or a camera from my HQ, and start getting tech trader money. But I don't. What will you do in this situation? You have fall guy and camera in hand, and these are your tech peddler cards. Give it a think. I'll review my thought process and what I did after a short pause. Pause the video if you need to. Are you done? Alright, so here's my thoughts. As I mentioned, tech traders are very important. And by using Street Peddler, you're activating a trash can. You really want to milk value out of that trash can by having tech traders up. So this is actually a trick question. I would say that you don't want to install any of the cards on the peddlers at all. Wait till you have 1 or 2 tech traders installed, then you can use the peddlers to their maximum effect. So to corroborate this, let's look at what's exactly on the peddlers and whether we really need them. So we have on the first peddler, we have a couple of cycling cards. Spy Camera and Fall Guy I consider are cycling cards. You install them for 1 click and they draw you another card. So they refresh themselves in terms of regenerating number of cards in hand. You can think of them as cantrips, except that they require clicks. So you don't really need those at this point in time, because you can get the same effect by clicking for a card. So no point using them right now when you don't have tech traders up yet. So the first peddler is not something we need right now. The spike, well, do we really need to break a barrier now? No. So we'll leave the first peddler aside, we can use it later. The second peddler, Freedom Through Equality cannot be played on the peddler, so that leaves Shiv and Nudge. Of those 2, I value Nudge more because if you get a siphon off, you can clear those tags at instant speed. And speaking of siphon, it is lying on the third peddler. You cannot play the siphon from that peddler, but there is the same old thing on the peddler. So I can completely surprise the corp on my before even taking any clicks. I install the same old thing from the street peddler and 1/2 account siphon, because then the siphon gets trashed in the bin when I install the same old thing, and I can use it then. So that's quite a good interaction, the fact that I can threaten siphon at any time right now. The problem is, on that same peddler, I have one of my fixed breakers, a Gordian Blade. And that's a problem, because if I use the last peddler for a same old siphon, I'm discarding my Gordian Blade, and I can't get it back until I run through my deck again with Levy. If he becomes privy to this and starts stacking code gates on a certain server, I might be completely locked out. So that is something I need to be really careful about. Now I've rambled on for a long time, but I still haven't really answered the question. What do I do with my last click? As I mentioned, I don't really want to play Fall Guy or Spy Cam from my hand. I really don't need to use them. If anything, if I really want the card draw, I would just manually draw for my tech traders. So I run HQ. This was more or less what anyone would do. If you remember the celebrity gift earlier, yep, were you paying attention to it? You realize that there are no eyes that could actually hurt me. The three eyes he showed were Ashigaru, Viper, and Pup. And I was well prepared to deal with any of them. This is also why I chose to install the peddlers before running, as opposed to running before installing the peddlers. I did not want to lose a click, so by forcing him to rest the Viper here, not only do I identify the eyes, more importantly, I give myself a good chance of hitting the Nisei in his hand. That was a 1 in 4 to hit the Nisei in his hand if I paid 2 credits to get through with the trace. Unfortunately, I chose not to trace through it because I really needed the credits. And you see here, the next draw I had was Sports Hopper, and I needed every single credit to play that Sports Hopper. So I made the right decision there by not going for the 1 in 4 of the 1 in 4 Nisei. So I finally found the tech trader with the Sports Hopper, thanks to Hostage, and now I can actually start things rolling. Now it's actually worth it to begin installing Spy Cams and Fall Guys. So the first thing I want to do is install Fall Guy. This is when you really want to cave in and install Fall Guys because I am on 0 credits. So I would like as much money as possible, and I think it's reasonable to take a Fall Guy. The question is, do I liberate it from the peddler or from my hand? I could do either, and honestly, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. One gives one more card draw and 1 more credit. Since I think I really need the credits right now, and because it's at the start of my turn, I have 4 clicks to deal with all the cards in my hand. I chose the peddler to install Fall Guy, and seeing what I've drawn, I realized that I think I can do better by installing a bunch of cards from my hand instead of flooding my hand by firing Fall Guy. Also, he's feeding me cards thanks to Agroplex, which I'm more than happy to take. I think it is not beneficial to him to speed up my game like that. So you bet at this point that I'm eyeing HQ right now. If he doesn't ice up HQ, and he doesn't, I am going to siphon him. Remember what I said, I can siphon him with same old siphon on the 3rd peddler. But now that I've drawn into a siphon myself with the Sports Hopper, I don't need to use the 3rd peddler. Instead, I can use the 3rd peddler for what I really wanted to use it for, which is the Gordian Blade. I'm going to pop both Fall Guys here, and that draws me into my 3rd tech trader. But I really wanted to siphon this turn because I'm afraid he will ice HQ up next turn. So I pop the surprise siphon, liberate the Gordian off my peddler, and break through Viper. I also get my New Angeles City Hall out so that I can avoid attack. This was quite important. This allows me to threaten future siphons, which will be very, very advantageous for me. The fact that I can save 2 clicks on clearing tags is a huge deal. So New Angeles City Hall is actually a very efficient card in this particular deck when you combine it with account siphons. Alright, so that siphon was successful. It didn't really put a dent in my opponent's economy, but really it was more for boosting my own economy. You will also notice that I didn't avoid all the tags from the account siphon. That was because I ended the run with 3 credits, I believe, which is only enough to avoid 1 tag. You cannot avoid both tags unless you have at least 4 credits. You cannot use the siphon money to avoid tags. Alright, so he begins constructing his remote. Good for him. I do have a lot of breakers, so I'm very anxious to get them on the board to contest his remote scoring. I wouldn't be so anxious if I had a Polop, but the fact that I don't have a Polop means that I might have to do it the hard way, win a Caprice side game or something to that effect. The good news is I do have an inside job in my hand, so that should make things somewhat easier when it comes to sieging his remote. So remote pressure is quite important as guys, and this is one of the major changes I made from Brandon's deck. I actually put some inside jobs in because I think that it's actually quite important to be able to contest remotes early, especially in the current climate where data ravens fly around everywhere and rush decks are rampant. Inside job actually does a lot of work. I'm gonna pop Spy Cam here. That gives me options, so I can choose to run R&D instead of the remote. But it looks like I have to go for the remote, and why not? I have an inside job. Might as well give a shot at the remote. I'm pretty sure I can get past the remote one time because I have all the cloud breakers, and I only need to get past one piece of ice with inside job. So it shows the swordsman to Ashigaru, which is fine. I can break the Ashigaru with double spike. Not the most ideal way to do it, but that's what spike is for, to break stuff like these efficiently. So I gain tempo, I gain cards, I gain money. That's 3 tech traders, mind you, so I'm gaining 6 credits from that break. That Ashigaru is not looking good. At least not for this run. We have a Betty side game, which I luck out in, 1 in 3, I guess the correct number, and steal the Nisei, but if you realize, it doesn't really matter. With 3 clicks left and a Kuroda in my hand, I could have gotten in again and guaranteed the Nisei steal. He didn't have the Caprice, and that was his downfall. So, that was a very easy agenda to get, and Inside Job did a lot of work there. Being able to only worry about breaking 1 piece of ice as opposed to 2 is quite a big deal. And yeah, I like the change so far. Now, he starts jamming more stuff in the remote, but I don't really care about anything, so long as it's not advanced. What I'm waiting for is my pull-up, which has arrived right on time. One thing I realized that I should be doing here is, there's a mistake I'm making. I'm trying to break HQ with Guardian Blades, so I can install the pull-up. Can you see the mistake I'm making? Pause the video and think. I shouldn't be installing pull-up this way. I shouldn't be running HQ, breaking with Guardian, and installing pull-up. What's my mistake? That's right. Viper is a tracer. There are 3 subroutines, and I have 2 leg strength. What I should have done was to install the sports hopper first, and then run HQ. He can't be bothered. He surely won't be bothered to raise the trace, so I can waltz through for free. So that was quite a mistake. I wasted 4 credits on the Guardian, which I shouldn't have. Now, he goes for the score, and I already have my pull-up down, so I say why not contest it. I'm going to install a 4 guy, just in case I need the extra money, and then play the inside job here. It's an Eli that inside job pass, so that's quite a big deal. The fact that I only need to pay 2 credits for the inside job instead of 4 for the Eli. Breaking with Shiv and Kuroda for the Ashigaru. I hit a Caprice Nisei. At this point, I'm shaking a bit because I know I only run 1 levy in this deck and 1 same old thing, and the same old thing's in the bin. If he fires Marcus Petty on Swordsman with net damage and snipes the levy, I probably lose the game with no recursion left and very little fuel left in my deck. Now, we play the Caprice side game, except that we don't. I wait until I'm in the Icebreaker paid ability window. In the Icebreaker paid ability window, he cannot res any more cards. He has already res as many cards as he wanted to. In this window, he cannot res cards, but I can use the pull-up. So this allows me to break the pull-up without worrying about second Caprice. So I don't have to play side games. There was no Marcus Petty to be had. I steal the corporate sales team very easily. So far it's looking like a complete walkover. One very important tactical advice when playing against Palana is that you have to be wary of Voter Intimidation. That is a card that you can be pretty sure they'll play. You do want to have a fall guy out at all times against Voter Intimidation once you steal the first agenda. So that's kind of a mistake from me. I popped the fall guy. On that turn, I made the inside job run, thinking that I needed more credits to face Marcus Petty. I didn't actually really need it, and at the worst case, I could just use Spy Camera instead. So yeah, that was, I think, a mistake. I needed to keep the fall guy because I don't really want to lose any tech traders at this point. 3 tech traders is where you want to be at. Those are pretty much the most important cards of the deck. He selects gives me, showing me a bunch of ice, Swordsman and Lotus Field, and Crick. And Pup as well, along with a Jackson Howard, and there's 1 mystery card. So I'm not very concerned about that. But I guess that means that I don't need to run HQ, even though it's free to run HQ. Instead, I'm just going to siphon him. Well, if he's not going to defend HQ, that's what's going to happen, right? He tried to rush out early, and it didn't pay off, and now he's going to suffer the consequences. He's very far behind right now. Notice that I didn't avoid the tag. I avoided the tag with Forger because I had another one in hand. I couldn't avoid it with New Angela City Hall because it's gone. I did not find my Film Critic in time for the first Nisei steal, so after stealing the first Nisei, New Angelas went away. That's fine. It's not the end of the world, but it means that I just have to manually clear tags. Again, it's not the worst because Forger does that for you as well, and it gives you the 3 credit rebate and the extra draw, which is always nice to have. Trash cans are awesome. So once I'm done with that, you bet the next thing I'm looking to do right now is to levy. I hope he doesn't jam any agendas into the remote at this point because I really want to levy at this point. So this is where levy decks are their weakest. You don't really want to yeah, you take the credit hit, you take the tempo hit. This is a very good scoring window for my opponent, but he didn't manage to capitalize on that. And no pull-up to boot. So now that I've levied, I'm going to recover once again. By popping Spy Cam, I managed to see something interesting. It's a Caprice Nisei, and I hope to actually force the Jackson use here. He doesn't use Jackson, so I'm just going to trash the Caprice instead. So you can see how quickly I recover with money. And also notice that I popped the Spy Camera after the levy. This gives me one extra card draw post-levy. If I popped it pre-levy, I don't get any card draw because my deck was empty at that point. So with my last click, I have nothing better to do. I'm just going to run HQ. Now, I have to be really conservative with the cards that I use at this point. Peddler goes in the bin because at this point, I'm digging for a very important card, Freedom Through Equality. I gather that my opponent is using Global Foods, and so his agenda suite is probably the 9 agenda suite with no 3-pointers, in which case I need to steal 4 of 9 agendas, a pretty tall ask. I might run out of deck before I find the 2 more agendas I need, so the Freedom Through Equality allows me to win on just 1 agenda steal. All I need to do is find my Freedom, and get a good Spy Cam hit, and I'm good to go. So, on with the mission to find my Freedom Through Equality. I got a bit desperate and played the Peddler here, which is probably a mistake. If I play the Peddler and I find a Freedom on the Peddler, I'll be really sad. So I don't know, I think I just wanted to burst up in money because I knew that I probably needed to challenge the remote multiple times. Since I don't have a pull-up installed. With that Peddler, I was hoping to gain money and hopefully find my pull-up. And I didn't really have much other cards in the way of card draw. Like, I could pop the Hopper that is on the table right now, but I really want the extra link. I steal a corporate sales team here after spying it with Spy Cam. It's not ideal because I really wanted it to be with Freedom Through Equality, but an agenda's an agenda. You steal it while you can. So that's what I did. Arguably, I should have left the Spy Cam on the table and let my opponent, you know, I mean, yeah, maybe he can draw the corporate sales team, score it, so be it. I should save my Spy Cams for when I have Freedom Through Equality, then I can make one good run and win. Now here we have what looks like to be the final straw, the final push. My opponent attempts to push an agenda in server 2. What would you do as Geist? So there's one upgrade. You have not found your pull-up yet. Would you install the Peddler to try to find a pull-up? Would you run the remote and hope it's not a Caprice? He even ices up the remote now. You have double inside job, so that's nice. I invite you to think of this question. What is your general game plan here as Geist? Now I won't expect you to plan out all 4 clicks because it really depends on what comes off the top of R&D. But what is your general strategy for this turn? You want to contest that remote. Make a think about it. Pause the video if you need to. Now, first things first, you know that you need the pull-up. And you know that there are not that many cards left in R&D, so a draw is good here. Looking at your board, the things that can trigger draw, clicklessly, is the Fall Guy and the Sports Hopper. I wouldn't be too averse to use both. However, I would prefer using the Fall Guy here. Reason is, if I use the Sports Hopper here, I don't find a pull-up, and I don't manage to get through the remote because there's a Caprice there. Guess what? I've drawn through a lot of my deck, and that could be a problem because I'm using up my fuel and I'm running out of steam. The Fall Guy is a lot more conservative in terms of draw. If I still don't get it, it's not the worst. I can still try to go for the remote. Playing Street Peddler is also a viable option right here. At this point, Freedom Through Equality is not a concern. So that's definitely something that is worth doing. Now, interestingly, I went for a slightly different route. I still used the Fall Guy, but after not seeing the pull-up, I went for the Account Siphon. Reason being, he was only on 12 credits, so by draining his money, it should be that much easier to contest the Caprice side game, if it really is a Caprice. And the best thing is, HQ is almost dirt cheap to get past. It's just 1 for the pup because I'm using Mongoose, and 0 for the Viper, which is 3 Link. It's because I have 3 Link. Link is awesome. So once I pull him all the way down to 6 credits, I can easily double inside job the remote, and there's very little chance that he can do anything about it. Most likely he can't even res the outermost piece of ice. This is actually quite a huge deal, because this means that if he cannot res the outer ice, I save 2 credits every time I bypass the Eli. And this actually adds up. It's quite important because Ashigaru is super taxing for Corroder. Being able to avoid the Eli tax as well is quite a huge deal. And my opponent realized that there was no way he was going to win the game and conceded, which was fair enough. I'm not sure, so it didn't seem like it was a caprice at the end of the server, but it seemed like he couldn't res the outer ice to defend his server, and it didn't seem that it was a caprice on server. So I guess I made the right call. I think this game demonstrates the overarching flow of the game that you expect as a Geist player, or at least with this particular deck. At first, you don't really run, which is good now that hard-hitting news is actually a thing. Set up your board state, get your tech traders up, at least 2 would be nice to get rolling, along with at least 4 of your 4 breakers so that you can siphon or check the remote anytime you want. Once you're there, it's fun times. Siphon whenever you can, camp the remote for agendas, make sure they don't score to win, or score any funny agendas like Nisei Mark II to cause a lot of havoc. And at that point, you're just sniping runs on R&D or the remote to close out the game by stealing agendas that you have been spying on. There's no need to really hit HQ for agendas, as far as I know, and the deck should last long enough for you to win the game, especially with Freedom through Equality. You only need 3 agendas for the most part, so I think this is a pretty decent control deck, which is interesting. Not very often do you hear of control style criminal. Shaper and Anarch a lot more common, but with guys not being able to contest fast advance or asset spam, it's a bit surprising that it seems to work. I'll need to test this more, but for now it looks promising. Thanks for watching Happy Net Running. Enjoy your day. Goodbye.